Hear ye, here comes the judge. It is the Yogi Judge, Judge Dawson, back with another podcast aimed at giving you information that you can use to be your best self, to be a great yogi, a father, a man, and most importantly, because I am a judge, so that you can avoid negative interaction with this legal system. And the interesting thing about that is that a lot of people don't expect to have negative interaction with the legal system. No one wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I want to go to jail today. But I tell you what, if you don't plan to win, you're planning to fail. It's all by default. So when I bring these podcasts, my goal is to give you information that can keep you out of this legal system. It's from years and years of experience as an attorney and even as a judge. So if you don't think you need this information, share it with somebody that you care about so that they can be the best that they can be. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk with you briefly about one of the tools for success. And a lot of times we talk about, or you at least hear me talk about, being a cycle breaker, because that's a movement that I started in my court on how to avoid negative interaction with the legal system. It's called being a cycle breaker. There are 4 elements to being a cycle breaker. First one is recognizing the need to change. And I've talked about that several times. What in your life do you need to change? What in your community needs to change, or even the world? And sometimes, you think, well, world change is so big, it doesn't affect me, but it does. Because if we change ourselves individually and help in the area in which we live or operate, we can change the world. So yes, it does matter if you are disturbed by what's going on in the world and inspired by it, because that could be the catalyst for you helping to break a cycle. The next thing you have to do to be a cycle breaker is to commit to making the change, because it's not enough just to say, you know what, they need to stop doing this, or I need to stop doing that. The question is, are you going to put together the effort to really make that change, the commitment that is required? So that's the second element of being a cycle breaker. Then the third one is that the tools, in order to make change, you have to gather those tools. Everything doesn't just come to us by chance, but you can gather whatever tools that you need to be the best you can be. Nothing's outside of the realm of possibility for you, not today. Too many resources are available, but you got to grab them and line them up so that you can be the best you can be. So getting the tools to break the cycle is important. And then the fourth element is the ability to hang in there when it gets tough. The grit that is required to be successful. The ability to get up the next morning after you've been knocked down the day before. Your heart has been broken. Your dreams have been broken. People have betrayed you. Friendships have been destroyed, but you still get up. That's called grit, ladies and gentlemen. And as long as you have energy in your body, you have to get back up, because that's how you're going to break the cycle. Don't allow the cycle to just overtake you. Don't succumb to the depression, the sadness, the despair. Instead, get back in the game so that you can win. So those are the tools of being a cycle breaker. And today I want to speak specifically about the power of acceptance. As a tool to be a cycle breaker, let's talk about the power of acceptance. The power to be able to accept what is. That's really basically a reality check. At some point in our lives, we have to look at exactly where we are. Are you late paying your bills? Acknowledge it, right? Because that's the only way you're going to get back on track. Have you messed up in your relationship? Have you messed up in the way that you've appeared to work, lazy or late? Have you quit something that you said you were going to do before? I said I'm going to stop smoking, but you smoke again. The bottom line is that you have to accept where you are, because first of all, that's the way that you can get back on track. But if you continue to ignore where you are, you'll never win. So there is power in acceptance, knowing exactly where you are, because that is the way that you can then move to the next level. And then there's also power in acceptance, because along with acceptance, there comes rules. And it's funny because nobody wants to talk about rules, not today. Everyone wants to believe that they are above the rules, that they can do what they want to do, that rules are meant to be broken, and that's the only way that you can be successful in life. Well, I dispute that. because rules are guidelines upon which we operate. For instance, if we don't have the rules of gravity, we can't land, we can't exist on this earth. So to have a contempt mindset against all rules is just silly. So instead, let's acknowledge the rules that we have. Now, once you accept the rules that you have, the rules that are in place, then, just like anything else, maybe you will put in place ways to change the rules. For instance, if you don't like the rules against marijuana, what's happening across our country? Well, there's a movement to legalize it. It's taken a long time, but that's what happens. If you didn't like the rules against drinking, prohibition took care of that. But at some point, you at least had to acknowledge that there were rules in place. There was an acceptance of the rules. So in order to change the rules, you have to know where they are, know what they are, and you have to accept them, then move to making change. And what about in your life? There's power of an acceptance because simply if you break certain rules, you decrease the lifespan of whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish. If you break certain rules, if you don't accept the rules of the game, you won't be able to play the game that long. So when you're trying to be successful, when you're trying to be a cycle breaker, when you're trying to do something different outside the box, you have to know what are the parameters of the box so that you can continue to play the game. One quick example, if you are an athlete, you know what it takes to be an athlete, right? You know what you have to do with your diet. You know what you have to do with your exercise, your commitment. But if you break those rules, you will shorten your lifespan, no matter how talented you are. The same applies to everything else. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to recognize that there is power in acceptance, knowing where you are so that you can then win the game that you are playing. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to be a cycle breaker. That's all it takes to be successful. You have to know the game that you're playing. You have to accept the rules right now. Remember, it doesn't mean you can't change the rules, but at least you know where you're starting from. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is my time. I told you, I don't hold you long. I just want to give you quick information that you can use to be the best you can be. I'm a judge, so I got to get back to the courtroom. But I do enjoy taking this time out to give you messages that I've seen over the years practicing law, seeing people's goals and dreams derailed. And I know there's a better way. So again, if you don't believe this podcast applies to you, even though we can all learn and grow, share it with somebody that you care about before they fall off the wagon, before they end up in a courtroom, before they destroy their dreams. Share this message, subscribe to the podcast. But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, continue to be the best that you can be. Do your best to be your best. All right, it's Judge Dawson. You take care.